How can you win over global audiences? Today I'm going to share with you 5 tips how you can do it, so let's have a look. So this is a very hot topic for a lot of my workshop participants, because at some point in your career you're going to present to people from other countries. The world is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. People from various countries work together more and more. So even if you're not there yet, chances are though you are, but even if you're not there yet, in your future you're going to work more with people from different cultures. So you have to realize, how can you win them over faster? So myself, over the years, I've trained people from more than 42 different countries. In certain cases even, I have 20 cultures in the room. Not an easy task, but even if you just have one person from another culture, it could be very important for you. If you have multiple, it becomes more challenging. So let's have a look at these 5 tips of how can you win them over a little bit more easily. Number 1, do some research. Maybe you're watching this and it's very obvious for you, but I gotta tell you from experience with my workshop participants, most people do not do any research. They know they are going to present to somebody from a different culture, and what do? Nothing! Absolutely nothing! And then what happens? They're in trouble in the presentation. So do some research. Jump on Google. Have a look. What can you find out? Type in the country's name, the culture, even business culture, whatever it is that you have to consider. Try to find out as much as you can. Watch a couple of YouTube videos as well, if you can find some. Also, if you can get your hands on, have a look if there are some books on the topic, on the people that you're presenting to from certain cultures. This is especially important if you have, let's say you have somebody who you're consistently presenting to. It could be your manager from headquarters, if you work for a multinational company. It could be, if you're an entrepreneur, it could be a customer from a different country. So whatever, if there's a culture that's really important, you want to get even more books and dive more into this research than you usually would. Tip number 2, get a partner. Serious, get a partner. This is the most important thing that you can do to be successful with a different audience from a different culture. Now, what do I mean by a partner? I mean somebody either who is from that culture or somebody who has worked with that culture for a rather long time. Because these people from experience, either their own cultural experience or working with the culture, they can give you very, very specific tips of what you should do, what you should not do. But nothing is more important than getting a partner. First thing that I did, of course, when I moved, for example, to Korea, I found a Korean assistant who explained the culture to me. When I moved to Canada in the past, my first Canadian friends there, they explained everything to me. And you gotta ask questions, of course. You gotta figure things out. And I still do it to this day. If I deal with a culture that I don't know very well, I try to find a partner who can explain more things to me. Nothing is more important than finding a partner. Tip number 3, you have to consider body language. What does this body language mean in your culture? In many cultures, this means okay, good, money. Depending culture by culture. In some cultures, though, to my knowledge in Brazil, this is an insult. This is something you should not do. So it's very important that you check body language in advance when dealing with another culture and presenting to another culture. For example, in North America, a lot of North Americans tend to have the habit of putting their hands in their pocket during their presentation. When I lived in Canada, and I worked with American clients as well, a lot of them have their pockets in their hands in their pockets. And what they don't realize is that in so many different cultures, this is seen as rude. From a North American perspective, this is just casual. I'm casual, I'm relaxed. It's pretty much a good thing. But for so many cultures, it's seen as a very, very rude thing. So again, make sure you research on body language, because body language can create an instant bad image about you if you don't know what you have to avoid. Number 4, consider personal and professional barriers. Now here's the thing. We all have a personal life and we have a professional life, true? your personal life, your friends, your family, what you do for yourself, your professional life, your work life. In some cultures, they're very separate. In other cultures, they overlap. Now, there's no clear black and white line that we can draw, but a lot of Western cultures, the personal and professional life is more separate. Not all of them, don't get me wrong, not all of them. Yeah, so you got to check the culture that you're working with, but many of them, it's more separate. In Asia, often, it overlaps a lot more. So in Asia, if you don't make a personal connection, talking about family, hobbies, friends, what you like to do, it's hard to make a connection with people. So in their case, if here in Asia you give a presentation, in most cultures, not all, but most cultures, right, it's good to talk about your family. It's good to bring in your personal situation, personal things that might be interesting for the audience. From a Western perspective, it could be seen as highly unprofessional, highly inappropriate, but here it's almost a must. But again, one more time, this is not a black and white tip. Don't say East like that, West like that. No, you have to figure it out for the specific culture that you're dealing with. But just be aware that is one big thing you need to consider in your presentation, personal and professional. Do they overlap or are they separate? Number 5, consider direct versus indirect cultures. Some cultures are more direct, some cultures are more indirect. Myself, as you know, I come from Germany. Germany is a very direct culture. We tend to say no very directly if we don't like something, and we're very directly outspoken about what we like and what we don't like. We're very direct in general, especially compared to other cultures. For example, here in Korea, we're very indirect. So when I gave my first presentations here and I talk about a topic that's not all happy all day, and I would do my German way, very directly talk about the issue, it doesn't come across so well. So I also had to learn to speak in a more indirect manner. So for you as well, depending on the culture that you're in, you have to either learn to become a little bit more indirect maybe, or to become more direct. Right? A lot of the teams that I'm working with here, the Koreans, they have to learn to become more direct when they're dealing with certain Western cultures, and the other way around as well. Right? The Western cultures that I'm working with often who are very direct, they have to learn to become more indirect when they deal with Koreans, when they deal with Asians overall in general. One more time, you have to check the specific country that you're dealing with. There's no black and white. Every culture is a little bit different. And a final bonus tip here, learn some words in the other language. Too many presenters never do that. But one of the fastest ways through your presentation to connect with people from another culture is learn a few words, just a few, in their language. Yeah, it's an instant icebreaker and you want to use them at the very beginning. Hello, how are you? It's great being here, whatever it might be. If you learn just a few words in that language, it's an instant icebreaker. You often get a few giggles because you often tend to have a heavy accent. Just one thing, make sure it goes back to having your partner. Practice the words with your partner just so your audience understands them. That is the only thing. You don't have to say it perfectly. It's often more funny if you have the foreign accent, but it's just got to be clear that they understand enough. So as a final note, presenting to audiences from different countries is never an easy thing at the beginning, but I guarantee you, you will get better and better and better over time. The more countries you're presenting to, the more people from different countries you're presenting to, the better you're gonna get. If you keep doing this, if you research, you get a partner, you consider all these other things like body language, directness, indirectness as well, you're gonna get better and better and better. And the more people from different countries you're presenting to, you're gonna be a master very quickly. And that's what I wish for you. So win over your global audience.